This hour at townhall.com. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. The U.S. and a host of other countries are creating a new defense force to protect shipping in the Red Sea. It's been coming under fire from Iran-backed Houthi rebels. Senate Armed Services Committee member Senator Tom Cotton blames a slow response from the White House.
A ragtag rebel band in Yemen has now basically shut down shipping through the Red Sea, which accounts for, I think, 1/8 of all global commerce. And we haven't destroyed every one of their firing batteries and their ammunition storage sites. This is pathetic.
Senator Cotton was interviewed by the Salem Radio Network at the Washington National Cathedral today here in the nation's capital. President Biden said former President Reagan had it right when he described Sandra Day O'Connor as a person for all seasons when he nominated her for the Supreme Court.
And it was a person for all seasons who we saw at that hearing, and the Americans and the world would see through her extraordinary service.
O'Connor was the first woman justice on the U.S. Supreme Court. She died on December 1st at the age of 93. Good news for late holiday shoppers, as some major retailers are improving their delivery speeds to try and catch up with the competition. Julie Walker reports.
Walmart, Target, and Amazon are all in on the shipping wars, a move retail experts say will help them maintain a competitive edge against low-cost Chinese retailers. For Walmart and Target, their investments are also aimed at narrowing the gap in delivery speed with Amazon, which has set the standard for fast shipping and remains the king of speed. To catch up, they've been pouring money into warehouse upgrades, new facilities, or other efforts the retailers say will also help trim costs. Julie Walker, New York.
More on these stories at townhall.com.
Donald Trump's indictment proves that saving America is not going to be easy. There are entrenched powers that are fighting this with everything they've got. They want to keep control over the country, the narrative, and the nation's money supply. Hi, I'm Lance Wallnau. I'm a news analyst, a Christian author, and evangelical leader. I speak to millions of people every week, people just like you. You see, what the elites are doing is using inflation and government handouts and now central bank digital currencies to determine how they're going to control America. And that's why I recommend all Christians start a gold IRA from the Birch Gold Group. Because physical precious metals are one of the few ways you can maintain control over your own savings. To get a free info kit on gold IRAs, text the word faith to 989898. Birch Gold Group is the only gold company I trust. Get their free info kit and you'll see why a gold IRA can help you. There are no strings attached. Text the word faith to 989898 and you're going to be blessed by taking.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Sunshine and a little bit warmer today. The high about 47 degrees this afternoon and not as cold tonight with lows down near the freezing mark and a nice warm up tomorrow. 58 on Wednesday, mid 50s on Thursday. A chance of rain Thursday night into Friday. More rain expected on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of Colombo and Katie brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
Bring joy to the world, it's the thing to do. But the world does not revolve around you. Don't be a jerk. It's Christmas. It's Christmas.
Happy holidays. Welcome to Colombo and Katie on News Talk STL.
Can you hear me over there?
Are you in the microphone? No.
Yeah, no, you can't hear me in the microphone.
But I can hear you. I can hear you.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
Hello.
It's
okay. We just started the show. Come on in. Come on in, Jeff. Come on in. So, Justin, you cannot hear me in your headphones. That's okay, because that's how we're going to start this show today, and I will get you a new pair of headphones. Maybe take that adapter that I gave you.
Oh, no. I got it.
Oh, the volume.
I got it.
Beautiful.
It wasn't the volume. It's that the connection's bad, but I just pulled it out a little bit. So
Beautiful. And I was going to say there's
We're
an
all right.
adapter in there that might be
we're okay.
beautiful, Justin. So here we are.
Adapt and overcome.
It's Katie Fitzpatrick. It's State Representative Justin Sparks. We are here hosting Colombo and Katie today, and we are so excited to hear from you guys, to see you guys on our live stream, make some comments. We'd love for you guys to comment how you're listening. Is it 1019, 94.1, or on News Talk STL, Facebook, Twitter, all of that good stuff we are live streaming on, and you can see us. Please say hi. Tony is out today. Tony's at Disney World. He's at Disney World. He's celebrating his life with his family.
Yeah, just giving thousands of dollars to a communist organization in Florida. There's nothing wrong with that.
It was,
To each his own.
Justin, there is a sweet story behind this. There is a sweet story, but he did this for his wife's birthday, which is today. Happy birthday, Christine.
Happy birthday.
But you would not believe how much flack he receives because he loves Disney World. And I have to tell you something else. Someone else really loves Disney World, and that is Tim Jones.
Oh, thank you for telling me
Tim Jones
this.
loves Disney World.
Yes.
So whenever we cross paths, because we're going to be seeing them, stick around after Colombo and Katie, folks. The Tim Jones and Chris Arp show is happening 4 to 6 p.m. every single day. So they are going to be coming in after us. I guess we're going to have to bully him again. We're going to have to bully him just a little bit about him liking Disney World.
Yeah, I mean, we're just appropriate shaming.
Yeah, appropriate shaming.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
A Scarlet D for Disney. He'll wear it around.
We have a great show for you guys this afternoon. We're going to be speaking with Crane Durham at 2:25. He is the host of Nothing But Truth. NothingButTruth.com is where you can find all of his material. We're going to talk to him about Israel, what's going on with the war in Gaza, and so much more. We have 305 Grover Norquist. He is the president of Americans for Tax Reform. He is an amazing economist. I'm sure you guys have heard him on Colombo and Katie, as well as Tim and Chris's show. He's got a great article out right now, and it's about the White House wrap-up and how the White House believes that one of the most impactful things they have done in 2023 is, in fact, Bidenomics. Can you believe it, Justin? Hilarious. And then 325, I asked our buddy Chris Arps to come in with us and just talk about, some crossover. What are they going to talk about for Tim and Chris's show this afternoon? Who are their guests this afternoon? And we'll pick his brain about some of these subjects of the day. Justin and I have been going hard on topics outside of this show. Like the minute we saw each other, we're like, okay, this, and this. And Joe Rush just came in to remind us, save it for the show. But I want to talk to you about something that I just read today, and that is the southern border. Every single day, there is something new happening on the southern border. And today, or I should say yesterday's numbers are astounding. I found this on Fox News. The U.S. southern border saw a record number of migrant encounters in a single day yesterday, as thousands flooded into Eagle Pass, Texas, amid a broader surge in recent weeks that has left authorities overwhelmed. The number is over 12,000 migrants. Those were the encounters they saw on Monday alone. Customs and Border Protection, they told Fox News, this is the single highest day they have encountered in history. 12,000 plus people at the border. As of today, sources told Fox that agents are still processing and transporting more than 4,500 migrants at the busy crossing point, with more than 5,300 already in customs and facilities at a 260% overcapacity rate. What does this mean, Justin? What does this mean when you hear the number 12,000 in a day?
Yeah, Katie, we're going to start slow today. We're going to start really gentle for the crowd. Mm-hmm. And we're just going to say we're trying to repopulate the United States with voters that will vote for Biden in the next election, if possible, illegally. This is my own opinion here. But I think that there's plenty of evidence out there to support it. These are our people that we want to become police officers in our major urban cities. These are the people that we want to, just ask Dick Durbin, these are the people that we want to repopulate the ranks of our military. Mm-hmm. So that what? So that our infrastructure and our institutions, our military, our police, they can be full of Biden voters, Biden supporters, and completely rechange and remake our country as we know it. And there's no other explanation. I have gone over and over in my brain, and I know that you have too, which is like, why in the world, no matter how you feel, about the immigration or illegal immigration issue, right? You're like, well, is it, people coming across and they're refugees, or they just want a better life. But then when you look and you actually pay attention to this issue, and it doesn't take long, it takes like 10 seconds of research, you see they're all military-aged males. There's no children, there's no women, very, 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 very few. And you're like, and they're no longer from Mexico. Do you know this? We already crossed that threshold where they're not coming from Mexico.
Totally.
Mexico already emptied everybody out. We took
Totally.
everybody. Now it's everywhere else. It's Chinese nationals.
I saw that.
It's Iranians. We've a record number of these folks are on the terrorist watch list. And here's my point, and it's irrefutable. So many people, 12,000 people coming across in a day. I don't care how pro-illegal immigration you are. There is absolutely no human possible way that you're vetting that many people. You are not catching terrorists. And if you think October 7th in Israel can't happen here, you are 100% wrong.
I could not agree more. I think that it has gone way far past the kumbaya. We just want everyone to have a better life. That ship has completely sailed. And what's sad is that back in 2016, and what I'm going to say next, I was one of these people. Whenever I heard that Donald Trump was going to be our president, I was like, what?
Yeah.
What? And during the campaign trail, he was the only one talking about securing the southern border. He was the only one proposing build a wall. Again, an idea that I couldn't wrap my head around, and I was just like, what is this man talking about? Lo and behold, years have passed. Things have gotten out of control. And to this point, when we talk about 12,000 people being encountered in one day, we have seen an administration completely flip from an idea of saying we need to secure this and build the wall, which turned out to be correct, and also have as many ICE agents as you possibly can to hold that structure down, to try to vet people when they try to cross at these ports of entries or other resources that they're trying to find. We are so far removed from that time, Justin, because of one jump in an administration. This administration is completely at fault for what is going down at the border right now. Yep. And if people don't take that into accountability when they vote in 2024, God help us.
I know. 3 years. It took 3 years.
Short years.
Yep.
3 short years.
Yep. And, because we talk politics all the time, or, you're on the radio and you're doing God's work, honestly, you and Tony. And you're thinking, the next election cycle, and you start to grow numb to, this is the most important election of our time, of our life, blah, 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 right? Every cycle, it seems like we're always talking about how important. And people do that because they want to motivate the vote. They're motivating their base, blah, 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 blah. We've crossed the Rubicon on this.
Yeah.
I'm dead serious. I am convinced the republic is fracturing, and it's not just one thing. That's the thing. It's not just the printing trillions of dollars. It's not, the financial system teetering on the edge. Mm-hmm. It's not just immigration. It's not just the unequal application of justice from our Department of Justice, our FBI lawfare against a president, holding him to a former president, holding him to a different standard than the current president, right? Like this stuff, it's all at once. And we have to ask ourselves why, and we have to ask ourselves, what are we going to do about it?
I think that those are the most important questions. And I think that we also, people need to start living, not people as in our listeners. We know that you guys live in this reality. But what's hard is that having these conversations with people that aren't living in this reality, that are not thinking that, or maybe they are thinking, the southern border is probably a little bit sketchy right now and people are getting in, but, there's probably some control happening. There's probably some. Those are the conversations that it's like, how can we get it through your brain that Delta Airlines, I saw this on Twitter today. I'm going to have to find the handle that I found this on, but Laura Logan retweeted it. It was a woman flying Delta. She's a very, very popular person on Twitter. She took a video of the line that she was, of the people lining up to get priority boarding at Delta. All illegal migrants. Mm-hmm. All of them. Chinese, mm-hmm. Cuban, from Africa, mm-hmm. from Mexico, all different people coming from different places that crossed our border that didn't get vetted, that were pushed in, and are now flying Delta Airlines priority seating to go to New York, to a sanctuary city. And she was documenting this entire experience. Again, I'll write it on one of our social media, either the live stream or on our Facebook, to link to this video that I found on Twitter that Laura Logan retweeted. Priority boarding, Justin.
Right. Here I'm on Southwest in 3 o'clock in the morning, checking in at the exact moment so I can get in the B60 class to get, so I can maybe sit on the aisle, and they're getting priority. They're not waiting in line. And by the way, I've been flying all over the place. I've been super busy, and we'll talk about more about that too.
I definitely want to talk about this.
But watching illegal immigrants line up in front of you to get on the airplane with no driver's license, you're like, I just went through security, and they looked inside my intestines, for heaven's sakes.
You went through the machine.
You know what I mean? Like, did they go through that? Like I had to have this, my ID, and they have to scan it, and they look at your face, and they're like, did you claim any lithium-ion batteries in your bag?
What about your laptop?
Exactly. Just looking at you smugly. God bless you, TSA. I would never want to do that job.
No.
It's smelly. It's a smelly job. But then they just get on. You're like, you don't have a driver's license. How do we know who they are? You don't.
You don't.
It's like you and I, we are empathetic people, right?
Yeah.
We love people.
Yeah.
We're people, right? And we're like, I love you. I want you to have a great life. What are you doing here?
Yeah.
Who are you? Why are you here? Who paid you? Who paid your way from Venezuela?
Yeah, and
who paid your way from China to get here?
What are we paying? What are we paying? And I know that's like, as you just said, we are empathetic people. And I know when I say that, like, what are we paying? But it doesn't sound like I am. But in all honesty, if you're going to tell me that illegal migrants are being shipped or boarded and riding in airplanes priority with these during these different types of flights, and they're going to be going to New York or other places, California, whatever is categorized. I can't even remember right now what actually is categorized as a sanctuary city in the United States. What other states I meant to say. But if you're going to go to California or New York, and that's where you're going to reside, and then you're going to be just gone for the rest of who knows when, because no one's going to be able to track you down.
Right.
Who's paying for you to get on that priority seat? How? Is it me?
Somebody is. Yeah, you are. I am. Tax dollars, for sure. You think Delta's paying?
No way. No way. And it just feeds into this idea that, again, we go back to how important these issues are. And the southern border has to be a top of mind issue. I know that there's a lot of social things that people in the Democratic Party are going to use. One of them is going to be abortion. Mm-hmm. And they're going to try to say that that's one of the most important things that you have to vote on when it comes to the overturning of Roe versus Wade. Okay, if it's not true, and they're going to have that platform of those social issues. But be mindful. If you don't think that the southern border is a social issue, is a humanitarian issue right now, you are woefully misinformed. There is chaos happening in that border, and it does involve women and children. It involves, I'm sorry to be so crass, rape tents. It involves kids being sold as property to be used as pawns to come into America.
Yes.
It's horrendous what's happening over there. And 12,000 in one day happened, and they are in this country right now.
Yes. How many, we just saw it in St. Charles County, where somebody comes in and he's being chained up in the basement by family members from halfway around the world as a slave.
I completely forgot about that.
Insanity.
Justin.
Absolute insanity.
A terrible, such a good example and such a terrible story. When I heard that news, and it was family members that had him working slave labor and doing other things, you just question what is going on and what do we not know about.
Well, the point we're trying to make here is when 12,000 people come across in a day, millions and millions of people, you can't track them. No. You have no idea. And not only is that a safety issue, a national security issue for us, we just mentioned that, but how can we know that they're not being abused? How can we know the children are being trafficked?
Yeah.
How can we know that the women are being sold into prostitution and slavery? And Katie, I'm telling you, they are. That's the answer. They are.
Yeah.
So what do we do about it? Well, I will tell you, we have a plan. There is a plan to fix this because it almost seems overwhelming, doesn't it?
Totally.
You're like, okay, 12,000 people in one day. You can't even really wrap your brain around that.
No.
That's like that's a city.
Yeah.
That's a city, an entire city coming into our country from other countries illegally every day. Well, it's fun, right? Okay. So how do you fix that? And I will tell you that the platform in 2024 is going to be, they're going to send them all back. Vivek Ramaswamy at America Fest, Turning Point USA, he says very clearly, we're going to deploy the full resources of the United States military. We're going to deploy it on the southern border, and we're going to send everybody back. And I mean everybody.
Incredible.
And you're like, that's a standard. That's a stance to take, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's no waffling. There's no middle ground. There's no, well, no, this is, if you can't, his point was really genius because he's a very smart guy.
Yeah, he is.
And he says, you can't start your American journey on a crime. You can't start your American journey on a crime. It doesn't mean that we're not open to you coming back legally, vetted, right? Because we want you to. If you're gonna contribute to this melting pot, then we want you to melt, right? That's the whole purpose. Greatest thing that you've ever seen in the last 200 years is people from everywhere coming, melting together, and we're Americans.
Yes.
Beautiful thing. It's an amazing thing. But we're not going to let you start with a crime, right? With a dishonesty. It's a great point.
That is such a great point. And I know that people are indifferent about Vivek Ramaswamy, but I like him. I think he's spunky. I think there's an edge to him. You know, some of his things, I just sit back and I'm like, dude's just going to do what he wants to do. He has great ideas, well-spoken, good policy. And I do want to say this, State Representative Justin Sparks, we are hosting Colombo and Katie today, and I want to talk to you a little bit more about what you just got back from. And it was Turning Points USA, an event that you might have been able to see on Facebook or on Twitter. There's clips all over circulating. Justin just got back from that. And I want to pick your brain a little bit more about what you saw, what you heard, because that was just one example of some outstanding leadership that you saw from Vivek Ramaswamy and so many other people, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. I
Awesome.
mean, yeah, super exciting. I've never been more encouraged, and I'll tell you why.
I love that. Don't go anywhere. We're going to talk to Crane Durham from Nothing But Truth. He's coming up next on Colombo and Katie.
You're listening to Colombo and Katie. Colombo and Katie, the new faces of talk radio.
Hey, thank you very much for taking my call.
News, analysis, opinion.
Yes, I just want you to know what a breath of fresh air you people are.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Francis Chick Powers.
With an inside story behind a Christmas song.
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer was a short story before it became a song. It was penned by Mr. Robert L. May in 1939. Robert L. May's brother-in-law, songwriter and publisher Mr. Johnny Marks adapted it into a song. He now chronicles the song's birth.
To make a long story short, I had seen a little book about Rudolph, and I wrote down the idea in a big book I keep of lyrics, song titles, melodies, and it stayed there for about 10 years. Came out of the Army, came across this title, and wrote a song called Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And when it was finished, I said to myself, this is easily one of the worst songs ever written. For example, the opening strain went, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Thank God I had the sense to know that it was bad, because it just dropped away into nothing. But about a year later, I was walking along the street. I started to hum, da-da-dee-dee-dee-dee. But that is in retrospect, because I didn't know it at the time that I had taken an old tune of mine and rewritten it. At any rate, I went home and I was fiddling on the piano with it, and then I was going through my book. I came across this idea of Rudolph, and I realized it fit the tune. And when it was finished, came out the song as you know it today.
From the Christmas files of the musicalsoundreview.com, I'm Francis Chick Powers.
Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer, you'll go down in history.
Hello, this is Chad Clayman with Clayman Group, KLAMEN Group.com, where we buy houses direct and as-is condition with no middleman involved. I recently bought a house from somebody that was embarrassed to let me in the door. There was stuff all over the place, and the entire house smelled like smoke. However, we were definitely able to see the potential. We gave them a great cash offer that they were very happy with. So if you have a house that isn't in the best shape, maybe in some disrepair, we're interested in making you an as-is cash offer. Please reach out today, KLAMEN Group.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Have we reached a victory or at least a ceasefire in the cultural so-called war on Christmas after all these years? Let's assess that on Wednesday's program.
Morning starting at 5:30 on News Talk STL.
Tumble out of bed and I stumble to the kitchen, pour myself a cup of ambition and yawn and stretch and try to come to life. Jump in the shower and the blood starts pumping. I don't
Stream Colombo and Katie at newstalkstl.com. Talk lines are open now at 314-912-1019.
Welcome back to Colombo and Katie on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL. If you guys are watching us on the stream, please say hi. I'm here with State Representative Justin Sparks, and on the phone with us, we have the one and only Crane Durham, host of Nothing But Truth, nothingbutTruth.com. Crane, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Always a pleasure. Great to be with you both.
We are thrilled to have you on today. And again, everybody, if you want to watch us on our webcams, go to our Facebook, go to our Twitter, go to our Rumble account, go to our YouTube. We are streaming everywhere, or you can listen to us on 1019 94.1 or newstalkstl.com. Gentlemen, I have something that I never thought I would say, and that is John Fetterman is getting some things right. And I can't believe it. I don't know how this happened, but John Fetterman is now saying, I am not a progressive and I am not associated with the progressives. This is happening because he is continuously getting scolded by Democrats for not abiding by some of the far left policies that the Squad and others like them, Bernie Sanders, are perpetuating. I have this article from NBC News. God help me, but I do, that I want to read to you guys. And Crane, I want to get your reaction first, and then Justin, yours. So, Senator John Fetterman is breaking with progressives on hot-button issues with his fiery support for Israel and calls for Democrats to engage on tougher immigration laws, something we just talked about, Justin, disappointing some of the left as he shows his independent streak. He also continuously is scolding Democrats for not pushing Senator Bob Menendez out of office after he was indicted on federal charges. In an interview, the first-term Pennsylvania Democrat said his critics shouldn't be surprised. He says this, I'm not a progressive. I just think that I'm a Democrat that is very committed to choice and other things. But I'm with Israel. I'm going to be on the right side of that. And immigration is something near and dear to me. And I think we have to effectively address that as well. Fetterman insisted that he can be pro-immigration while also favoring policies to restrict the flow of migration to manage levels, disagreeing with progressives who oppose new limits on asylum seeking. So, Crane, when you hear something like this from John Fetterman, he says, I am not a progressive, and he's having stark disagreements with some of his fellow Democrats. What is your take on something like this from, a so-called, for himself, he thinks he's a centrist Democrat?
Yeah, I think a broken clock can be right twice a day, and I'm encouraged by what he has to say when it comes to Israel, because Israel is right, and if you want to know what's wrong, it's Hamas, and any question you have about innocent people being killed, hey, the answer is the same answer that we always give. It's Hamas, and that's the reason. So he is right on Israel, and it doesn't take a Rip and Einstein to figure out that the border is an absolute mess. We're headed for a Cloward Piven strategy here to shut down everything, it seems, or overrun the system. So we can't continue it, especially as you all were talking about this. Enforcement has become processing. There's more processing going on than enforcement due to the overwhelming numbers. So, yeah, I think he can be a part of that in a positive one. And I like what he says about Menendez, because I like a consistent standard when it comes to wrongdoing or alleged wrongdoing and the interest in rooting that out. So I still know the guy as a left winger.
Yes.
I think minimum wage or other economic ideas that he's had. But yeah, he's getting this one right. So that's great.
Crane, this is Justin, and you brought up kind of an interesting point there. Hamas attacking Israel, right, and purposely targeting women and children, and we've seen in their own videos and by their own words and by their own confession over and over and over again the atrocities which are truly unspeakable, which we haven't seen maybe since the Holocaust. And my question to you is, this issue really, because this is the only way that I've been able to wrap my brain around why John Fetterman would all of this sudden be an ally. Like, that was not on my 2023 bingo card. So is it possible that this issue is the one that is truly has the potential of splitting the Democrat Party?
It absolutely is possible. There is, because it's so black and white, and it is, as you said, what we have seen, but as many of us, and I'm sure you have seen for over 20 years, we've seen a war on Israel and the United States and others not allowing Israel to win that war. And so when I see a mobocracy forming in the United States and a cult-like adherence to the demonization and the intake of oppressor versus oppressee, looking at this is a greater problem, as you mentioned, and it needs to be addressed. And you cannot sit there and say, you know what, maybe Israel's a little off base here. If you're Chuck Schumer, okay, and never thought I'd be on the same page as Chuck Schumer, but the idea is that this guy is seeing evil for what it is. And we are talking about people who are not tolerating the existence of Israel, not tolerating the existence of Jews. And we are seeing this in our own country. Yep. So this is huge because it hits us. And as you know, you got to have an issue that is directly impacting the people. If you talk about crime and people are living in a very safe place and they're not impacted by it, oftentimes they can't relate until they're mugged by reality so often. Yep. But if people are seeing it on a daily basis or family members impacted, bam. And we see that with immigration. We didn't hear from sanctuary cities, oh, yeah, we're so compassionate. And I guess compassionate toward human trafficking. But the idea is then they started to feel it, and all of a sudden opinions started to change. So, yeah, long answer, short version, yes, this could be the issue that splits the Democratic Party.
So we're looking at the Democratic Party right now saying this could be, as you just said, the issue that splits them from maybe moderate centrist leaning and splits them apart from the far left. But is this an issue that's going to split the voter, Crane? I know that you and I talked about this a little bit off air, but I'm seeing now reports that a lot of young voters that would associate with the Democratic Party are saying they're not voting for Biden. There's many issues, one of them being big promises that have been unfulfilled. Of course, we heard all of those big promises on the campaign trail, how he's going to do something about student loan debt and yada, yada, yada. But is this something that's...
He's violated Constitution to do that, so we got to give him his props there.
Yeah, that's true. But is this one of those issues among whatever issues you've heard when you read articles from NBC, ABC, and the like? Have you seen that these young people that are going to be voting are not voting for Biden again because of the border, or are there other things that he hasn't done?
Well, the left flank is punching above its weight. It's allowed to do so because we have a mainstream media that embraces this crap, pardon me, but it's true, and doesn't hold it to account and plays into the narrative of oppressor versus oppressee. It doesn't take too much time to investigate. Imagine these groups, the people that are supporting this, they come up with these signs, pre-made signs. Who's funding this? It wouldn't take Edward R. Murrow to figure that one out. You could base it, trace it, and hopefully erase it in the way of saying, hey, this is a movement that's being funded and it's destructive. And, here's the other side of that. They're wrong and they're supporting evil. Yep. But you've got people on TikTok from a generation that are embracing Osama bin Laden's letter to America. Mm-hmm. So this is wake-up time for everybody, not just moderate Democrats, but the rest of America to sit back and say, we're losing our country and we've got to take it back.
Exactly. You know, you said something really, first of all, I love your term, mobocracy. That's perfect. Mm-hmm. And, you just hit to the very core of it right there. That's finally what the conversation has become. It is no longer about policy, conservative, liberal, Republican, or Democrat. This is good and evil. This is the fracturing of the republic, and we're watching it right in front of our eyes. And so when you have a conversation at the coffee shop or when you're in the grocery store line and you strike up a conversation because you care about your neighbor, these are the conversations that we need to have because every single one is valuable. We are in an existential war of good versus evil, and there's no denying that.
Yeah. And with that, as you spoke to the melting pot, which I like, so many of us, we believe in being an American, and that's not about a particular race. It's about coming under a belief system that we have the opportunity that we are all equal under the law, that we do things the correct way and follow that we can't be judged by our race.
That's right.
That we are a place where we are one blood, so to speak, in the way of being equal under the law and having that protected and having minority rights protected. And I'm not speaking of the racial minority per se. I'm talking about the minority opinion, having that opportunity, enforcing the rule of law, and believing and knowing that every desire in the sense of being free, well, that protection is inalienable. That right can't be taken away. Right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and understanding that. And what they've done to this is they've made it about white supremacy, which is bizarre. Mm-hmm. I guess the dope is really, really good now, or really more powerful, because it really is kicked in on this level to the idea that you can take something that is inclusive by the fact that it speaks to every human being's need and desire to be free, and you racialize it to a group on Geraldo. And I know my references are dated, but my point is, this is ridiculous. They're racializing things, and then the other side is obviously try to divide us by classism, economic classism. And their prescriptions are absolutely antithetical to what America stands for.
We are speaking with Crane Durham, host of Nothing But Truth. NothingButTruth.com is where you can find all of his good stuff. I do want to read you guys one more article before we take our next break, and that is hundreds of U.S. synagogues were targeted by false bomb threats over the weekend. I heard Mike Ferguson talking about this on his show, which you guys can listen to 5:30 to 9 o'clock Monday through Friday. And it was such a terrifying notion to hear that hundreds of U.S. synagogues and Jewish organizations across the United States were targeted by emailed bomb threats over the weekend, according to law enforcement officials and a nonprofit that tracks the security of Jewish communities. The FBI has launched a nationwide investigation, but said no explosives have been found so far. No suspects have been arrested as of Monday afternoon. Crane, when we have this happening across the United States, but let's just bring it back to St. Louis. If we're having this in our community, whether that be St. Louis, St. Charles, wherever you reside in this area. What are we to do to show our support for our Jewish community? How do we stand firm with them when we hear that there's emails with bomb threats attached to synagogues and Jewish organizations?
You make your position known. If there's a business that is being targeted or an institution that's being targeted, you show up in support of that. You don't run and hide from these cowards. And you make it very clear that this has been an underreported story. They've always been at the top. They're number one on the hate crime list. They always have been. But they don't talk about that because it doesn't fit the narrative that the left wants to push. This is about standing up and for doing what's right. And we all said, or excuse me, history has told us never again, right? That's the idea, never again. But we need to stand up right here and now and say there is no place for this. And if you threaten them, you threaten us.
So absolutely true, Crane. You know, they're using the you hear it over and over and over again on the BBC, the argument of equivocation, that, 1,500, 2,000 Israelis are killed, and now scores more of Palestinians are dead. And, the same argument was used in the Nuremberg trials, in which they tried to say, yes, lots of Jews were killed, but so were a lot of Germans in Dresden. And I think that it's, just like you said, I think it's very important to highlight the fact of what we're actually dealing with, because I think the issue of Israel is going to be the defining issue of our time in the next 10 years. Because why is it that it always comes back to the Jewish people and the attempted annihilation of the Jewish people? Because it always does. From the river to the sea, when you have people like John Fetterman, Bill Maher, Crane Durham, and Katie and Justin all agreeing, we're on to something. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I do. And here's the other side of it. Being able to have these conversations and understand. Remember, the ignorant leftists that are supporting Hamas unknowingly sometimes don't even know what they're saying because they're young and they're out there and they're doing things and they're in college and we've all been stupid. Okay. But
Yes,
it needs to be addressed. It needs to be addressed and it needs to be allowed a space to have a discussion. But when people have that discussion, they're shouted down. Brown sugar tactics are used against them. So we need that space to have the conversation. As you mentioned earlier, Justin, the idea is we've got to be able to talk about these things and not worry about being, swatted, swatted, or having some bozo end up on your lawn because you support Israel and it not let you get sleep, okay? And I know you've dealt with these things firsthand in the sense of supporting law enforcement, Justin, and I applaud that always because it is important to do this and to let people know where they stand. But if you think about the attacks on the institutions as we've been enduring for the last decade plus, started arguably, we can say it started a longer time ago, but let's go 2008 and look at the demonization of groups, including law enforcement. Wow, we've got to step it up.
Yeah, you're not kidding. We definitely do, Crane. We are speaking with Crane Durham, host of Nothing But Truth. You are listening to Colombo and Katie, and I have my friend State Representative Justin Sparks in here with me today. I want to talk to you both on coming up next about the judge's order that is saying they're releasing the names on Epstein's list. This is something that every single person I have ever met is like, why have we not seen the names?
Let's go.
Let's go. So I want to talk to both of you guys about this next on Colombo and Katie.
Tumble out of bed and I stumble to the kitchen, pour myself a cup of ambition and yawn and stretch and try to come to life.
You're listening to Colombo and Katie.
Out on the streets, the traffic starts jumping with folks like me on the job from 9 to 5.
Follow Katie Fitzpatrick on Twitter at KFitzTalks. Make us part of your holiday this year with the News Talk STL Family Christmas. We'll share personal stories and play our favorite Christmas songs starting Christmas Eve at 6 and Christmas morning at 6. Brought to you by Great Harvest Bread Company in Maplewood and Chase & Buck's Grub and Pub in Barnhart.
It's the holiday season, and maybe all you want for Christmas is to sell your home, or your New Year's resolution is to get a new home. The team that can help make this a reality is, of course, the Wallner Home Selling Team with Berkshire Hathaway. They are the best home selling team in the St. Louis area because they have so many qualified buyers right now that they guarantee to get you an offer. They're selling 15 times more homes per year than your typical home seller. And they have the experience and work ethic to be the best. We saw that up close and personal last year when we sold our home with the Wallner Home Selling Team, and they also helped us find our new home. It was an absolutely fantastic experience, and that was because of the hard work of the Wallners. Rodney and Jen Wallner are a family. They bring that family perspective to the situation when you're buying a house, which was tremendously helpful to us, and that is how they will treat everyone. So if you are looking to sell your house, the Wallners are the team to call. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team now at 314-810-SOLD, 314-810-SOLD, 314-810-SOLD for the Wallner Home Selling Team.
I have a great whiskey suggestion. Stolock Whiskey, created using natural limestone filtered water from the Ozark Highlands, aged in Missouri oak. Next time, get a bottle. But if you're going to share with friends, you better get at least 2 bottles. Stolock has the Larry Connors seal of approval. See the full story at Stolock.com. Stolock, Stowloch, from Stone Ledge Distillery.
How's your health care? Insured but afraid to use it because of high copays and deductibles? You wait weeks for a few minutes with your doctor? It's Dr. Randy Tobler, and I struggle with the same issues as both patient and doc. You want to know that you're the focus, not the billing codes or faceless denial experts at insurance skyscrapers, which is why I've decided there's a better way. At Body of Health Direct Primary Care, you'll receive timely and time-rich appointments in person or virtually, whichever fits your needs and schedule, along with hundreds of free medications, transparent and truly affordable labs, and most importantly, a trusting relationship. We'll dig deep for solutions to problems and fill you with holistic coaching to minimize the need for high-powered medicine or specialty care. Now, if you need that, I'll work with specialists to streamline that journey too. And if it's prenatal care, hormonal, or sexual health that's bugging you, I'm board certified in women's health. Want a Body of Health? Get to know us at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
This hour of Colombo and Katie brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
I've made up my mind over and over. Keep pressing rewind, but I'm getting older. Tried every door, don't know who I'm looking for. And I've made up my mind over and over. I can't be.
Stream Colombo and Katie at newstalkstl.com.
Stick it up your butt. Food and Agricultural Organization at the UN.
Isn't that great? That's our friend Tony Colombo going off about something. I can't even remember what that was about anymore, but when he said it, I'm like, I have to grab that moment.
Yes.
And I'm going to play it all of the time.
Yeah, right now he's riding in the tea kettle cups.
Oh, yeah. You know, I went to Disney.
I don't even know if that's a ride anymore.
But it was. I went to Disney World. My parents brought me, I think it was like 2003, maybe 2002. I was 8. And I remember waiting in line with my parents for Dumbo. That the ride Dumbo
Oh,
was
yeah.
2 hours. Like the wait was 2 hours,
Sure.
and the ride alone was 60 seconds, maybe even a little bit less than that. That's my last experience with Disney World, and I had such a good time. But I think back to like what that was in the early 2000s, like the teacup ride,
Yeah.
and now they have like Star Wars,
Yeah.
epitome of the
Yes,
world, and I'm
of
like,
course.
how did that happen?
Money. Incredible amounts of
Money.
your money.
I am Katie Fitzpatrick. I am talking to State Representative Justin Sparks and, of course, our friend Crane Durham that you can hear every single Tuesday on Colombo and Katie. He also is the host of Nothing But Truth, nothingbutTruth.com. Crane, were you able to see the news today that a judge is ordering that Epstein's documents they need to be unsealed? Did you see anything about this?
I did not, and I think that's good news.
It's fabulous.
It's a great disinfectant, and then with the alleged practices, and what happened there, wow, that place needs to be exposed.
Oh, yeah. So I read this article. It's from Newsmax, who is a great friend of News Talk STL, but Newsmax posted this. The names of more than 170 people with ties to Jeffrey Epstein, including victims and former employees, are set to be named in a slew of court documents a Manhattan federal judge has authorized to be unsealed. This is according to Newsmax and the New York Post. A judge on Monday ordered the documents in the defamation lawsuit that Epstein accuser Virginia Guffer brought in 2015 against Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell to be unsealed in full. Previously, the names were only identified as Jane Doe's and John Doe's in the court filings, but the judge gave the individuals named in the documents 14 days to appeal the decision. Crane, I don't know about you, but this is a huge thing, I think, just for no matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican, because I think, as Justin said on break, we're going to be seeing names of possibly high-profile people associated with both parties and maybe people that just have a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this reminds me of the Blacklist of the show, James Spader, which went a little wrong in certain areas there with the storyline, but it was still a fascinating show to think about people who had this amount of power and how awful it can be when you have a former president in a painting in a dress. Bill Clinton, I'm speaking to, in the sense of what Epstein had with that painting. I think, this is going to, rightfully so, bring some embarrassment to some people and more of a need for explanation. People want to know. This is awful. And I think this goes to the idea of the gatekeepers. And I'm a big believer in protecting things for national security, as I'm sure we all are. But when it comes to news, like, for example, vaccines or the efficacy of a vaccine or something along those lines, or we see what's happening on the border and the consequences when we look at our criminal justice system and how it's impacting us. I think these things are things that we have a right to know and should know in order to make a decision about what's going on. So I applaud the idea of releasing the names.
Oh, no, I think you're exactly right. And it comes down to something that you've spoken to for years, Crane, which is the truth. We just want the truth. I want the truth about JFK. I want the truth about Epstein. I want the truth. You want to talk about vaccines, vaccine efficacy. And what did they say, particularly with Fauci and the CDC? The WHO, right?
Mm-hmm.
The noble lie. They knew by their own emails, right, that the vaccine wasn't going to keep you from transmitting it. It wasn't going to keep you from getting it. And they knew that, guys, and they went out and lied. And they called it a noble lie, right, because they're like, well, the ends justify the means. And that's how we get to Hitler Germany. I mean, the ends justifying the means. It always leads to Mao's China, every form of evil known to man. And I couldn't agree with you more. It's all about truth. Mm-hmm. Just give me the truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and wherever it cuts, have it cut in the sense of, all right, Let's if there needs to be a cleaning of house when something comes out, and it happens to be an R or D, that's not my priority. The priority is, hey, we have a system here, and we need to be informed, and we have the right to the information that impacts our lives. So let's see it. So yeah, big time.
So you guys just brought up Fauci, and I think we touched on this maybe last week with Ukraine. I can't remember because last week feels like it was 800 years ago. But did either of you see the clip of Dr. Fauci saying why he doesn't need to go to church anymore?
Yes.
It's insane. Did you see that clip, Crane?
No, I did not.
So
No,
Dr. Fauci is getting interviewed, and Justin, correct me if I'm wrong with any of this, but Dr. Fauci is being interviewed for God knows what, something about how much he is loved. I don't know. Give him the award for being loved. And in this interview, he's talking about his faith, Catholicism, religion, all of that stuff. And he's asked by this reporter, like, you don't go to church anymore, do you? Crane. He told the reporter he doesn't need to go to church anymore because he is such he has such great behavior, and his morals and his
he essentially justified his salvation through his own stances and views on life.
Yes.
Ooh, that's a dangerous place to be.
Isn't that crazy to hear that, Crane?
Hubris.
Woe to those. When Jesus says woe to somebody, you might want to listen.
Yes.
Woe to those.
Yes.
Okay?
It was truly astounding.
Yeah, and I feel bad for him because, not because of being superior, but being as fallen as they come, needing God's grace each and every day, and only through his blood.
Yes.
But understanding that, and that must be a really awful place to be if you think you're above that.
It's insane to hear someone that the society has brought. Remember, Dr. Fauci, he was an untouchable. We could not say anything bad about Dr. Fauci, and all of that went to his head. And here we are now hearing a clip of him talking about how he doesn't need to go to mass or church anymore because he's basically thebomb.com.
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm good. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Crane, for joining us this afternoon. We greatly appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you next Tuesday.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Crane.
Have a great day.
Yeah, you
Take
too.
care.
Yeah, Justin, I don't know what you thought whenever you heard that clip, but my
Predictable.
gosh. And you know what? He thought that probably before the world made him into what he was because of COVID. But the amplification of Dr. Fauci because of COVID, we built a monster.
Oh yeah, he was already a monster. We amplified him.
Yes.
You look into his history.
It's horrible. You are listening to Colombo and Katie on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. Right after this, Justin and I will be right back, and we're going to speak with Grover Norquist about Bidenomics, and is it a success story or not?
Tried every door, don't know who I'm looking for, and I've made up my mind.
Not too late to take advantage of this awesome holiday offer from the cleaning pros at Zero Res, the team that has brought our home back to life many times over the years, the team that can clean any surface in your home, including carpets, tile, upholstery, and much more. And right now, they have an awesome offer for you. Just mention the Colombo special when you book a cleaning in the month of December, and you will get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129. That is incredible. Plus, you can take $50 off an air duct cleaning. Again, just mention the Colombo special when you book a cleaning in December to get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129. Plus, you can take $50 off your air duct cleaning. Book online now at ZeroResSTL.com. Spell it forwards or backwards. It spells the same. Zero Res.
Imagine a world where hands reach out to help one another and to help our first responders. Did you know that a recent study by Western Connecticut State University reveals that with each hour spent volunteering, your own happiness goes up by 16%? If you've ever wanted to be the spark, the change maker, the time is now. Volunteer a few hours with the David Dorn Foundation and ignite a new day for police officers and first responders. Visit dornfoundation.com and join as a volunteer. We're waiting to hear from you.
Planning a move? I encourage you to call McGuire Moving. And they not only do moving, they can provide you portable storage. They'll bring a storage container to you. You fill it at your time and convenience. They'll pick it up, move it where you want it. Here's their phone number, 314-241-0600, 241-0600. Website, McGuireMoving.com, McGuireMoving.com. Locally owned.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour at townhall.com. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. Several countries are banding together to defend Red Sea shipping from attacks by Houthi rebels. Military affairs analyst, retired Lieutenant Colonel Robert McGinnis, believes President Biden should take a cue from President Ronald Reagan, who took a not-so-subtle approach to dealing with the terror posed by Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi back in 1986.
One morning, he launched an air attack against Gaddafi's command and control center, destroyed it, and also one attacker, one bomber, went after Gaddafi's own home.
Colonel McGinnis was interviewed by the Salem Radio Network. Kind words today for Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor at her funeral in the Washington National Cathedral, coming from Chief Justice John Roberts.
The time when women were not on the bench seemed so far away because Justice O'Connor was so good when she was on the bench.
O'Connor was nominated to the High Court by then President Ronald Reagan back in 1981, becoming the first woman to sit on the High Court. She died earlier this month at age 93. California about to become the second state to recycle toilet water into drinking water. Here's correspondent Donna Warder.
California regulators plan to vote today on new rules to let water agencies recycle wastewater and put it right back into pipes. Lakeisha Bryant of the Santa Clara Valley Water District says the water will go through what she calls a very expensive advanced water treatment process.
Microfiltration, reverse osmosis, and ultraviolet light disinfection, and the water is pure water at the end.
The state has struggled for decades to have a reliable source of drinking water for its more than 39 million residents. Right now, Colorado is the only state to recycle wastewater. I'm Donna Warder.
More of these stories at townhall.com.
In a world where financial landscapes can change rapidly, safeguarding your savings and retirement accounts is paramount. Direct Bullion USA is more than just the #1 rated gold bullion dealer in America. We're your trusted partner in navigating the uncertainties of hyperinflation and political upheaval around the world. And we share your Christian worldview. Call us now at 888-787-GOLD. Precious metals like gold and silver have been a safe haven investment for hundreds of years. And investors are diversifying their portfolios every month with physical gold and silver with Direct Bullion USA. Get started when you call Direct Bullion USA at 888-787-4653 and get your free gold investing starter kit today. All it takes is one call to 888-787-GOLD. Take control of your retirement and protect your future with Direct Bullion USA. Call 888-7...
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. A chilly evening, coats needed, temperatures in the 30s, but temperature doesn't fall off that much. By tomorrow morning, it's 32. Definitely a cold start, but it's actually a little bit above normal in the beginning of a warming trend. Wednesday afternoon, we hit a high of 57. Southerly winds about 8 to 12 miles an hour, partly to mostly cloudy and dry. And then Thursday, still in the 50s, a high of 56 degrees, cloudy skies, slim chance for an evening shower, better chance for rain after midnight into Friday morning. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Fox News commentary.
They've come for your light bulbs, your cars, your gas stoves, and now this. I'm Tommy Lahren. Find out next.
With so many mesothelioma lawyers, how do you choose the right firm for you and your family? I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan, and here's my advice to you. Do your research. Results matter. Reputation matters. Last year alone, our team recovered over $1 billion for our clients. If you've been diagnosed with mesothelioma, call us now, as the time to file a claim may be limited.
Call 800-602-2200. That's 800-602-2200. Call now.
regulate and tax everything they can get their paws on, and this time they're coming for another household item, your gas-powered leaf blower. Washington state Democrats are seeking to outlaw gas-powered lawn equipment, and if they get their way, violators could even face jail time. Their bill claims that your gas-powered lawn equipment contributes to climate change and noise pollution and therefore must be stopped at all costs. There are a few exceptions for commercial, government, and residential use, but those who do not comply could be saddled with a gross misdemeanor, fines up to 10 grand, and even imprisonment up to 364 days. Liberals, man, they seek to regulate your life while they simultaneously allow illegal immigrants, felons, and thugs to run buck wild. Well, I've got news for you, Washington state Democrats. Pause off our functional household items. We have had enough. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show Tommy Lahren is Fearless at Outkick.com.
So it's that time of year when you have maybe been up on the roof recently putting up Christmas lights and maybe just a couple weeks away from taking those Christmas lights down. Also, with the leaves falling, throughout the winter season, maybe you have noticed that there are things going on with your gutters that you didn't realize was there before. If you are having any issues with your gutters at your home or your business, the team to call, of course, is the Gutter Pros, your all-in-one team when it comes to gutters. They are the best because they are the friendliest, they're the fastest, and they're the most affordable. We had that experience at our home recently in person. The only thing that I was upset about with the Gutter Pros is that I didn't call them sooner and let what ended up being a very easy, affordable problem to fix build up to something bigger and bigger in my mind. I finally just called the Gutter Pros, got it taken care of, and it was so simple and easy and affordable. So if you're having any issues with your gutters at your home or business, call the Gutter Pros now. Just go to gutterpros.com.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Live and local.
Welcome home. And whoosh, sitting in traffic, stuck in a jam, and being entertained by Vic and Thunderstealing Ken.
This is News Talk STL.
Cause you're a sky full of stars. I'm gonna give you my heart. Cause you're a sky full of stars. Cause you light up the park. I don't care, go on and tear me apart. I don't care if you do. Cause in the sky full of stars, I think I saw you.
Welcome back to Colombo and Katie on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. I am Katie Fitzpatrick. I am in the room with State Representative Justin Sparks. He's got some stories that I want to hear about and that we are going to talk about in our next segment at 3:25. He just got back from a Turning Points USA event. Can't wait to hear about that and delve into what he heard, who are the speakers, and so much more. But right now, we're going to speak with economist and president of Americans for Tax Reform, Grover Norquist. Thank you so much, Grover, for joining us this afternoon. We greatly appreciate your time.
Oh, Katie, absolutely. Looking forward to it.
So I have something, I have an article that was on atr.org. That's where you can find everything from Americans for Tax Reform. They have great stuff up at their website. But I have something that I want to read to you first, Grover, and get your reaction to. And it is from the Washington Examiner, and it's the White House promotes impactful Bidenomics in the end of the year memo they send out to staff. I want to read just a little bit of this to you, and Grover, and get your reaction. The White House is marking the end of 2023 by underscoring President Joe Biden's record before next year's election, portraying the economy as one of Biden's success stories. They say this: when President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris took the oath of office in January 2021, America faced historic challenges, including a once-in-a-century pandemic, an economy gripped by the most severe downturn since the Great Depression, and the painful aftermath of the January 6th insurrection. Over the last 3 years since, he had amassed one of the most impactful legislative records in generations, fought to grow our economy by rebuilding the economy from the bottom up and the middle out, and delivered the strongest recovery in the developed world. Grover, as one of the best economists I've ever seen, what say you to this note at the end of the year memo saying it was an impactful year for Bidenomics?
Wow. It's delusional.
Yes.
It was impactful in that since he took office, okay, one, we were coming out of COVID. The government was opening up state by state, despite the blue states that opened up slowly. And that was, that was good. But he threw so much money up in the air, other people's money, raised taxes, and spent several trillions of dollars, $5 trillion more than anybody had expected to be spent on a bad day. And you had inflation, which since he became into office, raised the cost of on things on average about 20%. That was the inflation if you add up each year. Average wage increased about 13.5%. So most Americans are poorer today. The average American is poorer today than the day Biden walked into the White House, not because of something, that came down from the skies, but because of decisions by Biden and the Democratic Congress, the spending they did, the regulations they did. He shut down pipelines, which could have provided us with energy. He said you couldn't explore for energy in Alaska and other states. The cost of energy went up. Russia got rich as a result. Iran got rich as a result. I mean, there was one series of problems after another. Every decision he's made about the economy has made the economy worse than it otherwise would have been. But if you're running for president, you can't say that. So
Yeah.
It's not popular.
Now, impactful doesn't tell you whether it's good or not, by the way.
That's true.
When you get hit with a rock, that's impactful.
That's very true. And, they kind of danced around the prospect of that word impactful, but I just thought it was such a funny thing to read about. And lastly, I think in this article that was written by the Washington Examiner in this end of the year memo, it blamed the congressional Republicans. It attacked the Republicans for the perception of how Bidenomics is actually affecting the average American. And I think, Grover, it's funny to me that even though this was created clearly by Biden, it has his name, and it has his name in the title, that somehow it falls on the congressional Republicans that they haven't been telling the truth, I guess, about Bidenomics and its impact on the average American. It's their fault.
Well, in the front page of the Washington Post over the last several days, there have been stories about how Biden and his wife are very unhappy that the world does not think that Biden is a successful president. The polls show the American people are very unhappy, including Democrats and independents as well as Republicans, with the taxes, the spending, the slow growth, the poor job creation, the inflation, the lower wages that people now have, the decline in people's life savings, their 401k, their IRA, their pensions. And Biden thinks that when you drive past a gasoline station and notice that the price of energy is significantly higher than when Biden became president, that your problem is that the Republicans refuse to lie and tell you that something other than what your own eyes tell you. Right. And your eyes tell you that the price of gasoline is higher than it used to be. The price of food at the grocery store is higher than it used to be. I'm sorry, that's not a question of watching the news. If you watch the news on ABC and public broadcasting, you might think everything was fine. But if you walk outdoors and look at prices, you realize it's not.
Such a good point. And Grover, I wanted to get your point, your perspective. If you remember, you won't remember me because why would you? But you were in you were in Jefferson City when I signed the pledge and got my selfie with you. I'm proud to do so.
Yeah.
You brought a great perspective on why the tax issue is such a wonderful issue that so many different perspective people can get behind. But I was at a legislative conference a few weeks ago and having this exact discussion with other legislators, and it struck me how they really couldn't wrap their brain around the current state of our financial crisis, if you want to use that word, in our country. I heard a lot of, well, as long as we stay 100% of debt or 125% of our total debt. And I basically said, guys, within 5 years, we're not going to be able to finance the interest on our debt. And so one of two or both things have to happen. Interest rates have to come down, and we have to print a whole heck of a lot more money, or we're in really big trouble. And I'm not an economist, but I'm not stupid. I can see it with my own eyeballs that those two things, we're up against a wall. Would you agree?
We are. And if you want to see the future of if Biden gets reelected and the Democrats run the House and the Senate, it was on display in Argentina for the last 10 years. We saw inflation go up 20%, cost of food and everything else up 20% in the last couple of years. Their annual inflation rate is 140% year over year.
Right.
It can get worse. It can get much worse, and it will unless we stop what Biden is doing. And it'd be one thing if he said, I made a mistake, I screwed up, I'm going to change direction, we'll get better. But he's not doing that. He's going, I've never made any mistakes, everything's fine, I meant to do this. This is on purpose.
Right.
Well, that tells you he's not capable of learning from failure.
So before we let you go, Grover, I do want to talk about something that was posted at atr.org. That is the website, again, for Americans for Tax Reform. And we're speaking with Grover Norquist, the president of Americans for Tax Reform. And the headline of this is Biden wants higher taxes than China. You talk about Argentina. I think another place that we can heavily focus on and have a looking glass into is China. The article reads this. As he meets with President Xi Jinping, taxpayers are reminded that President Joe Biden wants to increase the U.S. corporate income tax to a level higher than communist China. You are quoted in this article saying when Xi meets with Biden, he will thank Biden for fighting to impose a higher corporate tax rate on American businesses than China imposes on their companies. Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure. When President Trump and the Republicans came in 2016, the top corporate rate was 35%. China's 25 and 15. We're at 35, okay? And the Republicans said, this is stupid, and they brought it down to 21. They wanted to go to 15, but they could get it down to 21. And so our rate was lower than China's at 25. And that was very, very helpful. Within 2 years, in 2019, alone, that 1 year, the median income for a family of four went up 6.8%, which, by the way, is more than the income for a family like that went up in all 8 years of Biden, all 8 years. 1 year alone of the low business tax regime. Then, of course, you had the problem. COVID slowed everything down, but the lower taxes were critically important. Biden wants to take that number back up to 28, and the average state corporate tax is about 4%. So that'd be 32, competing with 15 and 25 in China. Every American job would be uncompetitive at the very beginning just because of Biden's taxes.
Goodness.
He wants to compete on lower wages than China. America wants to compete on lower taxes than China, and he wants you to compete by having lower wages.
It's incredible, and we appreciate your perspective. It's invaluable. And Grover, if you could look into your crystal ball and speculate for us, what's going to happen? What is going to happen in 2024? I know that's a big ask, but that's what you get paid, the big bucks.
Well, I look at the map and I see a Republican Senate because of West Virginia, and Montana.
Yep.
If the Republicans choose their candidates well, they could win in another 3 or 4 states. So it could be a good Republican Senate, which would stop bad judges and anything fatal from happening. You do worry because of the Democratic gerrymandering that the Republicans could lose the House. And that presidential thing is 50-50. So go out there and vote.
Yeah, no kidding.
Thank you so much, Grover, for joining us. We have been speaking with Grover Norquist. He is the president of Americans for Tax Reform. Thank you for your insight and for your knowledge, Grover. We appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Beautiful. And next, we are going to have Chris Arps from the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show. We're going to talk to him about what's coming up on the show today, and we're going to talk about some of the things that Justin Sparks experienced at the Turning Point USA event that he went to over the weekend. You are listening to Colombo and Katie on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
'Cause you're a sky full of stars. I'm gonna give you my heart.
Stream Colombo and Katie at newstalkstl.com. Follow Katie Fitzpatrick on Twitter at KFitzTalks. News Talk STL.
First thing in the morning and pretty much all day.
Live and local. 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Is your family prepared for the financial burden of losing a loved one?
Are you aware of the cost of a funeral?
Benjamin Schaefer with Senior Memorial could help you qualify for lifetime permanent final expense insurance coverage with no medical exam required.
Just answer a few health questions, and once accepted, your rates never increase.
Do you have diabetes? High blood pressure?
Have you had a heart attack? A stroke?
No problem.
Benjamin Schaefer with Senior Memorial can help protect your legacy.
Call or text 314-866-8886. That's 314-866-8886.
To learn more about permanent lifetime final expense insurance coverage.
Benjamin Schaefer with Senior Memorial could help you qualify for immediate coverage by answering just a few health questions.
Call or text 314-866-8886 or learn more at memorialplans.com. That's memorialplans.com.
Policies underwritten by Senior Life Insurance Company, not available in all states.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. Doug and Safe Money Radio is on 3 times every weekend, but in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com or call 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233. Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
It's still way early, obviously, but there are surveys out that you cannot ignore, and that is that Biden is going down against Trump anyway. In fact, the latest survey shows also 54% of Democrat primary voters want someone other than Biden. Just 43% of them want to keep Biden. That's a Fox News survey. And there's a report that Biden is even complaining that his economic message has done little to move the ball. That's according to the Washington Post. As a response to that, David Axelrod, who was an advisor for Obama, said, "What I see with the folks around Biden, they just put out another photo op with a Bidenomics sign next to him. It's just unbelievable. It's not working. They know it, and they try to push it through." And still another survey, Morning Consult. Trump leads Biden in 6 of 7 crucial swing states. NBC News, Fox News show him behind. When asked by a reporter Sunday, "Why are you losing to Trump?" he said, "You're reading the wrong polls." He didn't just say it, he snapped back. "You're reading the wrong polls. Where are the good polls? Where?" Or is this just another case of Biden ignoring reality?
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
This is Christina Straight with Straight Realty reminding you why pay more than 4. In 2003, we had a dream to start a real estate company that would revolutionize the real estate market. Now, 20 years later, after navigating through the many markets' ups and downs, we know exactly how to help you in this challenging time. I'm Christina Straight, owner of Straight Realty. Don't give away your hard-earned equity. Give us a call today, 314-441-4444, 314-441-all-4s. And remember, why pay more than 4?
Straight Realty is a licensed broker in the state of Missouri.
It's been a very busy year for Wellington Environmental. Tom and his staff had traveled all over making sure that minor issues don't become major disasters. Then there are the times Wellington is called in for emergencies, but nothing Wellington hasn't seen before. They have certified inspectors, chemists, scientists, environmental planners, and that's just some of their expertise. That is why the St. Louis Business Journal gave Wellington such a high ranking. So what will 2024 bring? No one knows, but if you take time to visit the Wellington Environmental Facebook, you're going to see things that might explain health issues at your home or business, affecting you, your family, clients. Wellington Environmental Facebook. Tom Wellington and the entire staff wish you a blessed 2024. Your world, cleaner, better, safer. So, as always, be well with Wellington.
When you help create a Make-A-Wish experience for children with critical illnesses, you create a turning point in their treatment and recovery. And suddenly, the joy of childhood that they've lost is within reach. Right now, there are over 600 children in our region alone who are waiting for their heartfelt wish to come true. Give the gift of hope and joy this season by texting the word WISH to 243725. That's WISH, 243725.
Lit Cigar Lounge in Chesterfield is so luxurious you might think you have to be a member. You don't, but you will quickly see why Lit won the 2023 Riverfront Times Best Smoking Lounge, Best Smoke Shop for the second time in a row. Quality cigars, premium drinks. So join me at Lit, just off 40 in the district at Chesterfield. For special events, entertainment, always check the website, litstl.com, litstl.com.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
So what companies are the most woke companies? We'll find out from Scott Shepard from the Free Enterprise Project, Wednesday at 9:41.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL. Stream Colombo and Katie at newstalkstl.com.
Girl, you ain't Gandhi.
Colombo and Katie, the new faces of talk radio.
I know that I'm playing Mike Ferguson in the morning music, but if either one of you, I'm joined with State Representative Justin Sparks and Chris Arps, host of the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. If either one of you have Netflix and you've seen the movie that was created about Motley Crue's life and, you know, how they started as a band and everything, of course, it's totally exaggerated, or it might not be. I don't know. It's really funny. And David and I were like, wait, Motley Crue? I mean, I'm sure their behavior is one thing, but the music is on point.
I just want to tell you, as a kid that grew up in the 80s and drove around listening to Motley Crue and Twisted Sister and Rat doing things that I don't want to divulge on the radio right now with my friends. Thank you for playing that. That was a lot of good memories out there. A lot of them hazy, but a lot of them were very good. Going down to the riverfront when you could do that and drive down
Justin,
back and forth.
Are you a hairband kind of guy? Do you like hairband music?
I like all different
Music?
types of music. You would be shocked if you saw my playlist. It's very eclectic.
So I was always, like, for the longest time, I liked alternative rock because I grew up in the 90s and my parents were definitely not like old school rock people. They were like new hip music. They loved it.
Oh, really?
So I grew up on the point my entire life and then always pop princess. Love pop music so much. But as time has gone on, I've just like widened that scope because you get older and you want to hear new things. And Motley Crue is one of those bands that Dave and I were like, yeah, let's rock.
I figure since your parents are a little bit older than I, they'd be big KC 95 fans.
They definitely know. Both my parents know a ton about music, and they love music. And I think they did turn on Keishi, but they loved being in the know with like the most current bands. I mean, even pop, my parents really liked pop music too, but they just loved being like in the know. And it's probably because they had 3 kids that were all around the same age that were teenagers, and they're like, okay, what are they listening to? What's this about?
LL Cool J was really big in the 90s. Were they LL fans?
Maybe so. I'll have to ask them. Actually, they're probably listening right now through our live stream. So mom and dad, were you guys LL Cool J fans? Was that something that you were into? You guys are listening to Colombo and Katie on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. I invited my friend Chris Arps in here because I want to talk. Their show, the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show, is coming up from 4 to 6. It's on Monday through Friday. You can hear it all throughout the week. And I just wanted to see, what do you think some topics you want to talk about today during the show?
I think one of the topics we're going to talk about what's happening in the Red Sea with the Houthis attacking these ships. It looks like Iran, through its proxies, the Houthis are trying to expand this war in the Middle East and is trying to drag the United States and NATO and the Western powers into it. I think along with this being a terrorism that they're engaged with, it's also an economic war because that's a very popular shipping lane where oil and goods are going through. And they've talked about reports today of prices going up because ships have said they're going to take an alternative route, which of course is going to put added days onto the voyage and is going to make goods more expensive.
Oh my gosh, that is such a terrifying prospect, and something that I'm sure a lot of people are talking about in close quarters, but maybe a lot of people aren't recognizing how important economically something like that is going to impact the United States, allies, all of that, import, export, the whole shebang.
Yeah, and as Representative Sparks knows, he is a politician, and he knows to stay in office, he has to be elected. And next year is an election year, and the last thing that Joe Biden wants is prices going up and oil prices going up during an election year. So this is bad not only for the economy, but for Joe Biden's reelection chances.
So true. Why do you think that the United States reportedly told Israel, do not attack the Houthis? Because that's what we said.
I think it's because they're afraid of the war expanding. Yeah. I think that is the main thing that we are afraid of, the world is afraid of. That's what Iran wants. I mean, you can take it even deeper. The Iranians believe in a Islam called, can't think of the name of it, but their core belief system is that in order for the Mahdi, which is their Jesus Christ-like figure, to come back, there needs to be a worldwide war, an Armageddon-type war. So some of these radical people in Iran may be, through their proxies, trying to start a world war. You have Russia now that is partnering up with Iran, buying drones from them, and they're partnering and buying oil. So
my goodness.
It's a dangerous, dangerous world, Katie.
It is, and that is something which brings us to our next topic that I want to talk to Justin Sparks about. You just got back from a Turning Points USA event. Are these topics, some of the things that you heard about during these events from various people? What were you experiencing?
Awesome event. I mean, just absolutely eye-opening, mostly because you realize you are not alone. We are not alone. In a room surrounded by 15,000 highly motivated people that are not going to sit down and shut up. And I mean, these people are brilliant and they're young. I mean, these are high school and college students overwhelmingly, and they are going to take a stand and say no more. And that was very encouraging. It was encouraging to see how many African Americans were in the room. Huge numbers.
I was going to ask you about that.
Massive numbers, and so much so that it was very noticeable. And we were like, oh, yes, I mean, you as a Democrat, as Joe Biden, you have to be shaking in your boots because this is the future. And basically, it's the recipe for to dismantle the GOP as it stands today. The Democratic Party is a fringe, extremist, insane party that has very little relevancy, honestly, when we're talking about policy. They're out here. But the GOP, this is why Ronna McDaniel can't stand Charlie Kirk, because nobody's donating to the GOP anymore. Do you know how many times people come up to me and they're like, want to support you, want to give you money, do not want to use the WinRed, which is the program the GOP uses to funnel money to candidates. I want to give you money directly. I don't want them taking their cut. I do not want them taking a percentage of what I'm donating because I don't believe in them. And so they can't stand Turning Point USA because essentially that's the functioning of a brand new Republican Party. It's dismantling it down to the ground and rebuilding it like more like what the founders originally envisioned.
So whenever you were at this event, you said that you saw all types of demographics, whether it be people from the Black community, younger people, women, what have you, Hispanic voters. What were some of the highlights from your perspective that you heard from maybe some of these speakers?
It's so awesome because if there's 15,000 people there, the place was packed. It was an extremely well put together event. Speakers from all different backgrounds, Democrat, Republican, everybody agreeing on the same issues, the same way. And 99.999% of them were Trump voters. I'm going to tell you right now, all in. And yet Vivek Ramaswamy comes out on the stage with some ideas, right? He's very smart, very well spoken, and he brings the House down. And I mean, he brings the House down hard. Why I was encouraged by that was you've got 15,000 people that are all in for Trump, but they recognize good ideas when they hear it. And they're going to support those good ideas, which is good because we don't want to put all of our eggs into a personality basket. We have to look at everything objectively. And so these people were very smart, and it's very encouraging. All you need is one person to tell the truth. One person to speak up and tell the truth. And they talked specifically, kind of spoke to me, was the Ash experiment. You guys might not know what this is.
No, I don't. I don't know.
But essentially, this is what I learned over this weekend, and it's encouraging because essentially the experiment was this. Everybody in a room. There's 15 people in a room. They're all actors. One person's not an actor. All 15 people in that room are asked to make an observation of shapes on a board. Do these shapes line up? These squares touch? Very obviously, the squares do not touch. But 14 of those people, they all say, yeah, the squares touch. They're clearly lying. And when it gets to that one person that's not an actor, what do you think they did?
Probably went with it.
They went with the crowd. And they said, yeah, the squares are touching, even though they know they're not. But 14 people ahead of them already said they touched. Yeah. So they go along with it. Now, switch to the next phase of the experiment. 13 people say they don't touch. One person tells the truth. And then it gets to that last person that's not an actor. What do you think they did?
Switched.
Yes. 75% of the time they told the lie. But when one person would tell the truth, that person would get intestinal fortitude and say, yeah, they don't touch. I'm going to tell the truth. And so we would drop below 5%. The message is this. Speak the truth even when you think you're in a room full of people that will deride you for it and disagree with you. Because the truth is, statistically, there are people in that room that agree with you and they're looking for someone to stand up. Be that person.
Could the message also be that people are sheep?
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Yes, Chris. I think that you know what? I think what you just outlined right there is exactly, we talk about the demographics moving, and I want to get your thoughts, Chris, on Ronna McDaniel, because I think that she's just been a horrendous leader, and I don't think that she has done what she set out to do for the last 5 years. I do want to get your opinion and thought on that. But don't you think that that's exactly what we're up against when I know for me, when I talk about young voters, millennials and Gen Z, everyone's a Democrat because they're young, but also because everyone else they know is a Democrat. And it's not, I'm not saying people can't think for themselves, but when you have a room full of other people telling you these policies or maybe these social issues that they're telling you, these are right, this is what's right, it's hard not to fall into that kind of placement.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's why only if you look at studies and all of that, 2% of people are leaders, 98% of people are followers. The representative was correct when he was talking about funding. The state parties, The other parties, they don't get money from people anymore. People want to give the money directly to the candidates, or they want to give to PACs that are supporting the candidates. There was a report maybe about a couple of months ago. They did better this time around, talking about how the RNC, the House arm, was not raising a bunch of money. When it comes to Ronna McDaniel, I think she has been in the office too long. I think she has set the record as tenure as RNC. You have to remember Donald Trump did support her, and he's not talking negative about her now, so that's kind of an endorsement. Ronna will say that she has no responsibility for the candidates that the local committees or the people are picking, that she is there for ground game and for making sure that telephone calls are made and contact with voters are made, but she has no responsibility with the outcome of these elections. I see you shaking your head, Katie,
Because
Representative.
yeah.
I see you shaking your head there. That's the
advocate.
sentiment of a lot of Republicans, the way that you're shaking your head.
Yeah, because I think that what you just outlined is going to be the message from the GOP. It's going to be the message from her office. But when you feel the loss and you one loss after another, and I'm not saying that there weren't wins, but when you feel the monumental loss after the other, when you're supposed to have these high wins, the natural thing to do is blame the leadership.
The playing devil's advocate once again. I mean, Ronald would say, and I'm playing devil's advocate, folks, so she would say that I didn't have any choice in some of the candidates that were on the ballot in 20 and 22, and there was a common denominator among all of them, and they didn't do very well. There's nothing I can do about that. I think that's a halfway credible argument, but I think in terms of the way RNC's effectiveness, I think it's been really not up to par.
Justin, what's your rebuttal?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's halfway true. I think you're right. because
Where's the other half?
That's only up to a certain point. Yeah. She still drives the narrative.
Right.
As head
and
of
message.
As the messaging on the head of the GOP, there's a disconnect between voters and the GOP. And there's no denying that because they've lost 5 cycles in a row. And I don't care who you are or what candidates you say it's not your fault. 5 cycles in a row, you got to go. Because we got to right this ship.
Yeah, we do. And we're running out of time right now, but there is something to that effect that we're talking about that's happening right here in St. Louis that Justin is a part of. We have about 30 seconds, Justin. I know that that's not enough time. Do you want to talk about it a little bit?
All I'm going to say, guys, is everybody loves freedom, and the Freedom Caucus is on its way.
There you go.
Help is on the way.
And Freedom Caucus has, of course, a News Talk STL connection.
Yes.
My partner.
Yes, sir. Tim Jones is also a part of this. And if you want to find out more, follow Justin Sparks on all of his social media, Nick Schroer, Tim Jones. You will find out so much information from all of these gentlemen about this new caucus that is forming. We are so thrilled for Justin and our friends. Keep at it, gentlemen. We appreciate you. You have been listening to Colombo and Katie on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL. Stick around. The Tim Jones and Chris Sarp Show is up next.
You're listening to Colombo and Katie.
Francis Chick Powers.
With an inside story behind a Christmas song.
Chestnuts roasting.
Mr. Nat King Cole recorded it in 1946. Mr. Bob Wells and Mr. Mel Torme wrote it. Steve March Torme presents now material from his father's memoir.
On a blisteringly hot day in Toluca Lake, California, Dad drove to the family house of his songwriting partner Bob Wells for one of their regularly scheduled work sessions. Back in those days, people regularly kept their doors unlocked, especially during the day. Now, Dad opened the front door of the Wells house, walked in, and